What's going on, guys? It's the old weeb talking again about something that I think really appeals to the heart of people who watch stuff like me and a lot of the other community members of anime, video games, Star Wars, any nerd fandom. And it's like the life of being a nerd as like a veteran nerd is a lot different compared to when we were coming up. Let's get into it. Specifically from people from my generation, I was born in the late 90s, and I grew up during the era of Xbox Live, PlayStation 2, the OG console wars, Star Wars prequels, Spider-Man, Raimi, X-Men 2, 3, Last Stand, like the nerd culture that used to be Power Gamer, Game Informer. It's just a whole era. Floppy disk, LAN parties. It's just all a throwback now. And I would say that I really kind of miss those times, not only just from being an adult, but from the fact that we were kind of allowed to just be nerds. Like, we didn't have to kind of cater and pander to other people who weren't really part of our community. And this might seem, of course, sideways take. I usually give those kind of sideways takes, and it's just that there was such an understanding that things weren't real, things weren't life or death. These were just, guys and girls who did play video games. There were girls who were nerds, kind of just shooting the shit, going online, and just being menaces to society in virtual worlds because they were virtual. Like, don't get me started on the Unreal Tournament, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, Gears of War lobbies. Like, if you think gamers and some nerds are toxic today, oh buddy, you have no idea some of the things I have heard in just waiting lobbies for Halo and Modern Warfare 2. But unfortunately, being a nerd today has changed. We're constantly kind of abruptly infected with the idea that our medias have to adhere to modern audiences and have to adhere to broader demographics instead of the people who were just into them. Like, we shouldn't be needing to recreate the wheel and adjust things that used to be for trying to garner a new audience. It was so good that you currently have an audience that has kept it alive for all these years, and then if you want to bring more people into it, just update the graphics, update a little bit of the character models, whatever it may be. That's all you need. You don't need to upend the things that make them great. There's a reason they're remembered so fondly. Another thing is that we need to be kind of better as a community. The idea of when you could just go over to people's houses and play video games is one thing. It's not as easy as it used to be because we're all kind of adults. But for the kids nowadays, they don't really go outside and meet new nerd friends. Like, going to your local game shop, going to your local game store like GameStop, EB Games, Electronic Boutique for the real old ones, along with Power Gamers and malls, where you would just meet people, get gamer tags, and just play. Like, the community aspect to gaming used to be a lot more inclusive and healthy, and now it's kind of become very much a, this is mine, this is yours, don't mess with me, or hey, don't come in here and try to do XYZ, that we run this. A whole lot of almost like gang mentality. And I think, again, like I said in my gatekeeping video, it's kind of a defensive mechanism because a lot of the old heads, myself included, remember how things used to be. I'll never forget in my second year of college where I was getting into Super Smash Bros. And trying to play competitively and trying to do my best to prove my skills. And I met this guy who was in the student center, and then he had a friend who introduced me to another friend, and I got involved in the local scene in my local state, and I then had a swath of a whole new community of friends for Discord, Facebook, etc. that I could talk to and get games in with, and that camaraderie of the community was the best part of those times. And sure, I'm driving 20-30 minutes, not even an hour away to go play video games, but I didn't think much of it because it's just having fun. And I feel like we're kind of slowly draining the fun out of all the kind of nerd properties, like the nerd IPs. What happened to things used to be fun and enjoyable? A lot of things more are now dark and brooding, like we're all stuck in Batman Arkham series. And I get it that people will say some of these, nerd culture ideas, these gamer gates, these whatever you want to say that was wrong with nerds back in the day. Maybe all of it's true, but there are still parts of it that were great, and we could just iron out the kinks because we have more voice, more community, more funding, etc. We have the power of the internet. We can easily adjust to things and see what was great and what was good without having to tear down the old. Another thing that's kind of hard about being an old nerd is that some of those things that were viewed as problematic, now you can't be as proudly portraying or talking about because people have their new yes, this is bad because of the latest wrong thing. This is bad because this was, quote, misogynistic based on American standards versus the Japanese media or whatever it came from, or people who made it in the 1940s, 30s, etc. We need to stop putting modern ideology behind the worlds that were created when those ideologies didn't exist. Also, you kind of were allowed to be more silly. Like, we make fun of, some of the old stuff of like Naruto running, performing special attacks, all the kind of goofy shit we did back in the day. But there was kind of an element of when we made fun of it, it's because we were one of them. Like, it is a different kind of feeling to it. People nowadays, it's cringe and it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, you're just not there. You're not part of the scene where we were cringe, sure, but it was a fun time and it was a vibe. Like, I look at some of these nerds I see nowadays, which I'm glad that a lot of them are more open, but they feel less happy, they feel less enjoyed, and less likely to just spout out about their fandoms in the media, unless they're shippers. They're a whole different beast. But the point being is that, once you found your nerds, you felt like you found a family. Now, I currently work in the school system, and I don't see, except for a few schools, at least in my area, that really have clubs dedicated to like nerddom. Like, I had book club, I had anime club, I had tech club, I even had StarCraft club. Like, we had so many clubs that adhered to the nerd communities of my school when I was going to high school, that it always felt like you could find your people no matter what. And yes, you could say, well, now they don't need as many of these clubs because people are just openly nerdy and it's kind of accepted. And I'm like, yeah, they're more open, but they're also less inviting. They're less homey. They're not really now a community of nerds. They're just a bunch of nerds. And above all else, I would say taking on the word nerd has, of course, evolved over time as much as like Revenge of the Nerds, Big Bang Theory, and then you have kind of like your modern day nerds who would say people who like Call of Duty, people who like to play Stardew Valley, people who like, more of the like lighthearted Animal Crossing kind of games. And then of course you have more hardcore fans, anime fans, Star Wars fans, Marvel fans, all these people are nerds. It's just that the way that they act compared to the way I've seen old nerds act back in the day when we were their ages, it's just a whole different kind of vibe and community. And I feel that we didn't have the same level of shame, is the way of putting it. We kind of just said, you're gonna look at us weird, you're gonna do the thing, we don't care. We're having fun, we're enjoying ourselves, you guys can be over there. And now everyone's so more self-conscious about how much they portrayed their nerdiness. I mean, this again was during the era from my generation during cyberbullying, and before what it became the beast of now, like cancel culture and other harassment through doxing. We still managed to maintain our love of the game, but nowadays I feel bad for nerds. And don't get me wrong, I am still quite active in the scene between like YouTube, TikTok, Discord, Twitter. Like, I see it on a regular basis about the different degrees, and I also see some of the old guard trying to guide the way for some of the youngsters and trying to figure out how do we keep moving forward to maintain the hospitality and the homeness of a family of nerds used to be. But I'm getting old, and I feel old, and I'm still not 30. So I can't imagine for some of the people who were doing this when they were in their 20s and teens when I was coming up and what they're like now. And I've seen one who was a great friend of mine. I always used to say he was the old nerd king before me, and he's still rocking it. Warhammer, Star Wars, etc. He's just got a little less glint in his eye, and hopefully I don't get like that either. But I am hoping that I can save a few people along the way. And thanks for listening to me, guys. GG's.